And then he is dismissing all that he was speaking. She says, yes, forget about it, it's all over, dream. It's no more there at all. It's not a reality at all. What do we have reality? We see now the green land, the bird, the river, the mountains, the whole world luxuriously spreading around us. Look around thee and behold, glad and unchanged. Now this lady says unchanged, but it has not really remained unchanged. It has changed. After that event, things have changed. Glad and unchanged, our home, this forest, is the enduring nature of this creation, is there with a different significance, unchanged in that sense. This forest with 1,000 cries and whispers of wind among the leaves, and through rifts in emerald scene, the evening sky. So the sun is setting, and to the openings of the trees, the beams are coming out. Emerald scene, the evening sky, God's canopy of bloom sheltering our lives, and the birds crying for heart's happiness. So she is seeing a very happy, beautiful, sweet picture all around her. It is an evening picture. Now, how exact it is physically, I don't know, but it is like that for her now, you see. Vain quest of a solitary reign. Now, these birds, who are these birds? What are these birds? They are the poets. They are singing the ballads of our victory, of our triumph, of what we have won. They are singing the ballads of our triumph. The winged poets, birds, of our solitary reign. Now she says, our solitary reign, yes, this new creation where we are around now here. And in this world, in this kingdom, these are the birds who are singing our glory, our triumph, our greatness, so to say. Our friends on earth, where we are king and queen. Only our souls have left death's night behind. Change my mighty dreams reality. So, what has really happened is this. What has really happened is our souls have left behind death's night. This is really what has happened to the entire episode. So it is no more now that night which is covering us, that night of death. Now, what has happened is, we have opened ourselves to death's day. Death's night has gone away. We have opened ourselves to death's day. Death transformed, the glorious death. The Supreme Himself, who had taken that form of darksome death, He has now become Himself, and it is day. We are now left to Him. Only our souls are left death's night behind. See, he simply says, he doesn't say, only our souls have left death behind. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say that. It is not this. It is not this. Only our souls have left death behind. Pardon?
What's the difference? That's night or death?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. See, this is very significant. It is suggestive of death, something which is glorious. It is the aspect of the Supreme Himself for a certain purpose. And that aspect of the Supreme as death in the nature of night, it is that which has gone away. It does not mean that the aspect of Supreme as Supreme in the form of death has gone. Death has become now a transformed being, the Supreme Himself. He had put on Himself the appearance, the shape, or whatever you want to call it, of night. The Supreme had assumed that night. Now, of course, this won't do. Only our souls have left death behind. I could have said this line is metrically short of half a foot. Metrically, this line wouldn't do. Only our souls have left death behind. It is crying for half a foot. It is only 4.5 feet, you see. So metrically, this is not acceptable at all. But if I want to really make it metrical, I could have said, only our souls have now left death behind. And I could make it metrically perfect by adding here. No, metrically this is perfect. Only, that is the trochee, our souls, I am, and now I am left death, spondy, behind I am. I could have done that. Metrically, it is not therefore for the purposes of meter that he is putting death's night. Here only our soul have left death's night behind. That is only again trochee, our souls and have left death's night spondy behind. I am. Metrically is perfect, you see. But the occult connotation which is there in this is totally lost by simply saying only our souls are now left death behind. It's a very poor line from the occult point of view. In terms of the occult substance, this is an extremely rich line. Change the mighty dreams reality, illumined by the night of symbol worlds, and stupendous summit self of things, and stood at God's gates, limitless, free. See, here he says limitless, he doesn't say illimitable. Then, filled with the glory of their happiness, they rose and with safe clinging fingers locked, hung to each other in a silent look. So, in a kind of an amazement, wondering at each other, they are coming closer yet. But still, Satyavan is not happy, satisfied. He wants to keep on saying something. But he, with a new wonder, see that new could have been there, see, with a new wonder in his heart and a new flame of worship, in his eyes, she has become the goddess of adoration, Savitri, worship. And he is wondering at Savitri. He is not satisfied with all that she says. What high change in thee! He has at once realized that Savitri is no more that old Savitri. Savitri, human Savitri, is now, after that spiritual experience of that realization, is somebody else. That is the illimitable change, what we have seen earlier. The illimitable change has taken place in Savitri. Here he calls high change. That illimitable change we have already seen earlier. One 157.5. Here it is a high change. What is that illimitable change? Let us see again quickly. 157.5. Human she was once more Earth's Savitri, yet felt in her illimitable change. What is that change? A power dwelt in her soul, too great for earth. A power in her too great for earth. Bliss too large for heaven. Light too intense for thought. Love too boundless for earth's emotions. That is the illimitable change which has taken place. Power too great for earth, bliss too large for heaven, light too intense for thought, love too boundless for emotion. That is the great change which has taken place in Savitri. What high change! So he is seeing something like that high change is in thee, O Savitri, bright ever thou wast. Yes, I know, you have been always beautiful, brilliant, bright, shining, lustrous, a goddess still and pure, yet dearer to me by thy sweet human part. It is that which is endearing to me. You had taken the human form, you have accepted human condition, you have taken upon you all the sufferings, all the travails of this earth, all the emotions, all the joys, all the sweetnesses of the earth. It is that which is so loving to me. Earth gave thee, making thee yet more divine. That is what has happened in the case of Savitri. Savitri is the divine goddess. But after winning this victory, Savitri has become more divine. The divine can become more divine. Because it is the new discovery of the divine in the mortal world. That the mortal world can become divine. The mortal world can become divine. That is a new discovery. And therefore more divine. You are already divine, but now you have become more divine. Earth gave thee, making thee yet more divine. So this is not just a kind of praise theology series. These are things also. My adoration mastered, my desire bent down to make its subject, my daring clasped, claiming my body and soul, my life's estate, rapturous possession, love's sweet property. So this is what he is. Love's sweet property, see. That is his possession. A statue of silence in my templed spirit. What a description. A statue of silence in my temple spirit. So I have become a temple. And in the temple, in the sanctum sanctorum, is your statue. It is your statue which is installed in this temple which is I am. A statue of silence in my temple spirit, a yearning Godhead and a golden bride, both simultaneously. Yearning Godhead and a golden bride. Now here we have got the reversal of description. It is Satyavan who has become the shrine for Savitri. He has become the temple. And in the temple is housed Savitri as the goddess. So Satyavan is the shrine for Savitri. In the second canto, the issue, it is the other way around. She is the perfect shrine for him. She is the perfect shrine for him. Savitri is the perfect shrine for God of love. That God of love can go and reside happily in that luminous shrine, who is Savitri. But now here it is reversed. After that great experience, it is she who has become the goddess in him as a shrine. A statue of silence in my temple spirit. But now thou seemst almost too high and great. You have become so lofty, so limitless change has taken place. You have become unapproachable. You have become too distant for we small little creatures. But now thou seemst almost too high and great. Of course, he says almost. You see, for mortal worship. Yes, what can mortal do? Nothing. We say we worship gods, goddesses, Shiva, Durga, whatever we want to call it. We are devotees of Mother and Shiva. What devotees? Nothing. We cannot even do that. Too great for worship. We have to develop a sadhana of a kind by which that worship, that devotion is really acceptable for them. Simply going and praying at samadhi, well, okay, it's all right, but that is not real worship. For mortal worship, we have to develop that intensity of sadhana, of aspiration, that it reaches the God of worship, whom we worship. For mortal worship, time lies below thy feet. So she is now who makes time move with the feet. Time lies below thy feet. She is the queen, the master of time. All the moments are under her control. Time is a person. It is time now who is worshipping this goddess who is eternity. She is in the temple tower there. She is in the temple there now as a goddess of eternity. And it is time to go there and offers worship to her. Time lies below thy feet. And the whole world seems only a part of the love in her was wider than the universe. Only part of thy presence, the hushed heaven I inhabit. And thou lookst on me in the gaze of the star. So wherever I go, you are looking from every place, every nook and corner of this creation at me. Thy presence, the hushed heaven I inhabit, and thou lookst on me in the gaze of the star, yet art the earthly keeper of my soul. You are so far away, but you are still keeper of my soul. My life a whisper of the dreaming thoughts. My morns a gleaming with the spirits of wing, and day and night are thy beauty part. So that is the kind of praise Satyavan is offering to Savitri. See, it is a most wonderful thanksgiving speech offered by Satyavan, made by Satyavan to Savitri. This is what you are. It's really a thanksgiving speech. But now thou seemst almost too high and great for mortal worship. Time lies below thy feet, and the whole world seems only a part of thee. Thy presence in a hushed heaven I inhabit, and thou lookst on me in the gaze of the star. Yet art the earthly keeper of my soul, my life a whisper of thy dreaming thought, my morn a gleaming of thy spirit's wing, and day and night are of thy beauty part. It's a real thanksgiving. You see. There cannot be anything more beautiful than this.